Hey everyone, it's Carrie and thank you so much for joining me for another weekly dose of inspiration to help you to build a successful business. So this week we are talking all about communities, how to tap into communities to help you to grow your business. And we are joined by Sandy Sidhu, who's the founder of sandysidhumedia.com, and she's going to be sharing her amazing tips and strategies with us on this topic. So Sandy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Carrie.
So I am excited to have you here and to talk to you more about this because I just think communities have so much power in them. And I know when I started the Female Entrepreneur Association, the thing that really helped me to get the ball rolling with it was tapping into LinkedIn groups, like going on LinkedIn, finding relevant groups to join, and then mingling in those communities and getting to know people and building my network up. And that's really how I got started with it all. So I feel like it's such a powerful thing. But what are the other benefits of tapping into communities? And when we're talking about communities in this episode, are we talking specifically about online communities?
Right. So I'm referring to online communities. And like you said, I was the same way when I started my business. I'm very much a team player. So even though I was a solopreneur, I didn't really want to do things solo. So I started to have to find places where I could connect with other people who had similar ideas, who wanted to do similar things. So I really started to turn to online communities. Some of them were actually attached to some of the courses that I took. So that was actually a really good place to start. But in terms of benefits, as you mentioned, I think the real big thing is just having a sounding board. As soon as you find some of those communities where people are entrepreneurs like yourself, whether they're launching products or services, you can connect with them, get feedback. Because if you're working for yourself, maybe you have a virtual assistant, it gets tough sometimes to know if you're on the right track. So when you have these supportive communities where you can say, well, I'm thinking of launching this, would you look at my sales page? Or I'm contemplating doing this totally off the wall idea, but I don't know if I'm crazy, or, can you talk me into it or talk me out of it? So really having these places where you can trust people and grow those connections and network, like you said.
Yeah, I know. And we were just talking a minute ago before we started this, and we were talking both about how we've both got our own private online communities and how I've just got my private Facebook group that's just started the other week. And we were both talking about how powerful they are and how people just write in there and support each other so much. And like you just said, you can write to say, I'm just launching a new sales page. What do people think? I mean, that was something that someone actually posted in the Facebook group the other day. They just launched a new opt-in page and they wanted to get people's feedback. And I just think it's so powerful because, like you said, when you start a business, a lot of us are doing it on our own and we have these virtual teams, but then it can be so isolating and lonely. And I just think there's so much power in it. So I completely agree with all of that and how powerful it is to get to know other people. But what are the things that people can do? What are the steps people can take to actually start leveraging online communities and tapping into the power of them?
So first you have to find where those communities are, because I'm sure people who are listening are kind of like, okay, that sounds amazing. Where do I go? How do I find them? What do I look for communities based on my industry, or do I look at communities based on my interest? I actually think a good mix of the two actually helps, because let's say you totally focus only on your industry. And let's say, for example, you're into doing social media. That's a service you provide. So if you only go and join communities based on social media, while it's great for your knowledge and expanding, keeping in touch with the trends and what's going on, you're kind of falling into what people call the echo chamber, because everybody in there kind of agrees with each other and knows what you're talking about, but it's not necessarily where you're going to get business or find people who need what you have to offer. So that's where I think also expanding in sort of interest-based communities. So whether it's Carrie's Female Entrepreneur Association Facebook group she mentioned, it tends to be sort of a catch-all for entrepreneurs, so not very focused. So it lets you kind of connect with people across the board who have varying needs, and you're able to share your knowledge as well.
Yeah, I think that's so important to find communities that maybe communities where you've got a mixture of ones where other people are in a similar industry to you, and then a broader range of people, so you've got different people to go to for different problems. So what are the other steps that people can take to keep tapping into communities?
Well, focus on serving first and promoting second. So what I see happen too often in whether it's Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Google Plus communities is really what I like to call drive-by interaction. So people will just kind of drop their link, whether it's their latest blog post or their sales page, and then like shut the door and run away. Like, oh look, here's this. And I don't know what people are expecting to necessarily happen because again, you haven't really taken the time to interact or start a conversation. So instead of focusing on just link dropping, look at those communities and see how you can be of service first and see how, like, look at the conversations that are happening and see how you can answer them and then work on like how you can kind of promote yourself. Because I think generally when you start being helpful, and you start answering questions, people are going to be curious about you and want to know, okay, hey, what does Carrie do? What does Sandy do? Let me check out her profile more. Let me, look into her. Maybe I want to jump on Skype with her. Because when you're helpful, people take interest. When you're just that person who does self-promotion, it kind of it's just nobody really wants to connect with you. Yeah. And a lot of groups, especially the ones that are paid, I find, there's sort of like rules around that, or there's times to promote yourself. So again, it's not like they're promotion free because, again, we're all in business, so we do want to network and share what we're doing, but you also want to do it in a way that doesn't feel like sleazy and overly salesy.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I know whenever I'm in a group where someone is just blatantly self-promotion in not a great way, it just puts me off, and I just think, oh no, because it doesn't really add any value, and you just think if you did it in a different way, or it would be so much more effective. And I think that is right what you just said, is going in there to help each other first. So your primary aim to be about building relationships with people and adding as much value and developing that, and then from that you get to know each other, and it's that whole know, like, trust factor, isn't it? And then you do want to suss each other out. So yeah, really powerful thing. So what other things people can do?
Absolutely. So like you just said, you hit on a really key point. It's building that know, like, and trust factor. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget about when they first start their business. They put up their website, they optimize it for certain keywords, and then they kind of sit back and go, hey, how come nobody's finding me? And I think for a lot of service-based entrepreneurs and for a lot of what we do, there's tons of people who may be doing the same thing. So what sets you apart is going out there and building those relationships, because people are more likely to hire you when they see you, when there's visibility, when there's referrals. So that's what happens in a lot of these communities. It's sort of a micro economy gets created because people are connecting with each other. They're like jumping on Google Hangouts. So they may not be able to meet in person just yet, but they get to know one another. And then through there, they refer people. So while I think it's great to optimize your website to be found, I really find it hard to believe that someone will just stumble across your website unless you're selling like widgets. But when it's a service and you're charging, like, say, several $1,000s for a graphic design package or a copywriting package, there really has to be that know, like, and trust factor that gets developed, and that really happens in communities. And then my final point really is focus on quality versus quantity. So developing a few key relationships will serve you much better than just acquiring numbers like business cards at a networking event. So when you get into these communities, again, you don't have to join 50 communities. Really, lurk in a few, see which ones are going to serve you, and then invest your time in those 2 to 3 communities and build those relationships. And whenever you can, jump on Skype dates like this and get to know the people and ask them how you can help them. Because when you help people, it sort of generates that reciprocal, I can't even say the word, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's like reciprocal. So people want to help each other when you offer to help as well. So that's an excellent way to get to know people in your communities better.
Yeah, it's so true as well. Every time I've done that, where I've had that connection with someone, you've met and you chat over Skype, it just, that relationship you build with that person, and the amount of amazing things that I know that have come out of it when I've had that situation where I've connected with someone, it's just amazing. I think people really do want to help each other and support each other, especially when you find them in those communities where that's what it's all about. So it is so powerful and such an incredible way to build your business. So everyone should be doing it. Everyone should be listening to your tips and trying them out. In fact, I want to challenge everyone to, over the next week, to actually go and find some communities that you want to be part of, join them, and then put Sandy's tips into action and see what kind of results you get, because they are so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing them with us, Sandy.
Oh, my pleasure.
So if everyone should go and check out more about Sandy, head over to her website, sandysidhumedia.com. I've put the links to all of it over on the blog, so definitely go and check out all of her stuff. But I would absolutely love to hear what you think about this. Is tapping into communities something that you've already done? And if so, what things have really helped you, or how have you found it? Head over to the blog and leave a comment, and I will see you next week for another dose of inspiration.